Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a 2012 Ford Escape. Customer's concern is that it doesn't have any air conditioning. Right now it is late April in South Carolina. We're getting in the upper 80s, low 90s already, so it's AC season officially here. So let's go. He did try to put some refrigerant in himself. Didn't have much luck with it. So let's see what we're working with. Alright, so we're in the car right now. Definitely just room temperature air. Our request is on. I don't hear the compressor running. Let's go out and see if we can make sure that that's running.
No, it's not on.
Right down there is our compressor. Does not appear to be cycling. So could be a couple reasons. Let's hook up some gauges to it and see what we got as far as pressure goes. Alright, so we got to our service ports here. The high side and the low side, they're nice and easy to get to. I like that. Got them hooked up to our manifold set, and we have nothing in it. So that explains why the compressor's not running, which means we got a leak somewhere. So usually when cars come in and they have nothing, not that they're just low, they're empty, what I like to do is hook up a vacuum to them and kind of see what the vacuum is, cut it off, the vacuum pump off, let it sit for a little while and just kind of see how big of a leak we're looking for. If it doesn't draw a vacuum, or it only holds it for a couple of seconds, we know we're working with something pretty big.
That's what she said.
Just to get an idea kind of what we expect to find. All right, so we swapped out our manifold set because I forgot that the threads were different for my vacuum pump. Same thing, this was still 0, but actually just in the span of this video, we were sucking down on it. It only had about 15 inches of vacuum. It should get near perfect vacuum, and just in the span of this 30-second video it's already went up to 0. So we're looking for a pretty big leak wherever it is. There's a couple ways you can go about trying to find them. If you don't want to, refrigerant's pretty expensive. I've seen people rig up things where you could blow compressed air into the system, do the soapy water method to go find it. My only issue with that is that when you do that, you're just introducing a lot more moisture into the system. So I try not to do that unless I just have one that's really kicking my butt. What we're going to do is put just a little bit of refrigerant in it. Listen for sounds, look for any obvious leaks. I would imagine this probably isn't too hard to find, as poorly as the vacuum is holding. But yeah, so now we're going to just put, just enough till we can start looking around and see if we can find a leak somewhere. Yeah, that back corner back there, you can see it bubbling through. So, all right, cool. We got a leaking condenser. Not sure if this car has a separate dryer, or it's in the condenser. Oh, yeah. All right. So we'll let this guy know that he's got a leaking condenser. It's not uncommon. Rocks like to go whack it. I don't think a rock caused that. That's probably just sitting over the winter time, not being used. But we'll let this guy know that's what he's got going on and see what he wants to do. All right. So now that we know we're going to be putting a condenser in this car, we're going to try to take this grill out first. The grill's held on with there's a 10mm that goes right here. Same thing on the other side. There is a 7mm that goes into here on either side, and then there are two kind of, I call them speed nuts. I don't know what they're actually called, but there's two 10mm speed nuts that go. You can kind of pull the grill back a little bit. Take those off, and then the rest of it will be these kind of snap clips, and there's 3, 4, 5 of those. Take those off, and our grill will be out. with our grill out, we get a better look at our radiator, or sorry, condenser and radiator. This is where our offending leak is here. These are the lines that come in and out of the condenser for the AC system. And this one has a built-in cooler. I don't know if that's engine cool or engine oil or trans. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. They're just on with 2 spring clamps here. The condenser itself is held on just with 2 bolts, a 10 and another 10 here on the other side. What we're going to try to do is take those 2 10s out, take the cooling lines loose here, and we're going to try to pull forward a little bit and shift this thing over some to give us better access to these bolts and studs here. So we're going to try to do that now. So that didn't give us quite as much wiggle room as we thought. We're going to take off these 2 radiator brackets. They're held on with 2 8mm on each side. These kind of shroud plastic pieces, they just clip on to the top, and a bolt, one of the grill bolts holds the other one on, but it's the same thing on the other side. We're going to move these out of the way and see if we can get some more swinging room. So now we got our condenser pulled back some and shifted over to the right as far as we could. It doesn't give you a ton of extra room because you're hitting this AC line up against the body here, but it does give you enough room that we can get a closed-end wrench on those and get them out with our fingers. Now with our 2 13s removed, we're going to just kind of pry these 2 lines off of it and try to get this condenser out of here.
I guess I have just a little bit in there.
Alright, now just be kind of mindful of this hood latch here, but pull this up. And we're going to end up, make sure not to tip it on the side that has the holes in it, because all the components are going to have a little bit of oil in them. We're going to attempt to hold this thing, kind of grab it and then flip it like this and try to measure any oil that comes out of it so we can match it back up. I've had varying degrees of luck doing this. Sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you don't get any, but we'll figure that out. Also, FYI, those are transcooler lines. We looked at those. Now we're going to move on to the accumulator or dryer. Anytime you have an AC system open, you're supposed to put a new dryer in it, especially since this one has sat empty for all winter basically. A lot of moisture gets built back up in it. It's going to be 113 here. This line right here that is part of one that we took off on this side, it comes as 1 with the accumulator. So take that 13 off. This connector is just 1 pull connector from the bottom. Just pull there and pull it up. And 2 10mm down there. It does have this plastic cover on it. Don't bother fighting it in the car. We'll get this whole thing out as an assembly and we'll transfer that part over. So we were looking at this this plastic piece, which from henceforth will be called the sweat box. It's not designed to come apart. It's kind of it goes together and then they kind of melt some plastic on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to carefully break this off, and we'll either silicone it back together around the new one or zip tie it, or maybe try to like plastic weld it or something back together. But yeah, so that's that. So we got the sweat box off of here. There is a cycling switch that doesn't come with our new one, so we had to take that off and transfer it to there. It comes with O-rings on it, and I think we used a 14 to take it off and put it on there. Make sure that you always lube up the O-rings with some PAG oil or whatever oil goes in the car, because if you roll one, you're just going to have another leak to try to find. Alright, so we ended up just putting sealant on the seams on both sides, and then just kind of holding it together with a conspicuous zip tie. So now we're going to go back in with it. We got our new O-rings on this this upper side here. We got those lubed up. We'll put them back down on the stud. Put that 13 mil back in. Now it's time to go back in with the condenser. Again, be mindful of that latch right there. You don't want it to... We could have just taken it off in hindsight, but you know what they say about hindsight. It goes down into those little fins on either side. I think we're going to try to leave it out of the way some so we can reverse our procedure to get the lines back onto it. As I had said before, we flipped the condenser on its side to try to get any oil out of it that we could, and I mean, you spit more than what came out of it. So, which the condenser's not going to really have much oil in it at all. Most of your oil is in the compressor all the time. But what I do like to do, just to err on the side of caution, I'd rather have a little bit more refrigerant, or not refrigerant, but oil in it than less. It's always, if there's too much oil in it, that becomes a problem, but it's a lot easier to get rid of excessive oil than it is to grenade the compressor. So we just put a teaspoon or something into the condenser. We'll put just a little bit more, thimbleful or whatever, into the accumulator. Nothing came out of it either, and we should be good. With our lines over there and tight, now we can try to get it back into the respective slots that they're supposed to be in. And we'll go ahead and put our 210s back in. I'm not sure if this car was wrecked for some reason, or I don't know why. When we took these 10s out, the one that was over on the driver's side was considerably shorter. It didn't seem like it was. I don't know if this is right. We'll try to snug it up and see if it is. If not, we'll have to put a different bolt in it. So now we're going to go ahead and get our transcooler lines back on. Once we put this together and get it running, we'll have to check the fluid. Nothing came out so we probably won't have to add really any, but we'll check it just to make sure. Now our trans cooler hoses are on. We're going to move on to the upper radiator supports that we had taken off earlier. That was those 2/8 on either side and just that little plastic clip that kind of went into there. Keen-eyed viewers might be watching and say, "You big dummy! Hey man, that condenser was silver last time I saw it." And you would be correct, because apparently there's two different options. I don't know exactly how to tell what the difference was. The part number difference was between no letter at the end, and then one had a letter at the end. It was like 2190 and 2190A or something like that. But these AC, the cooler lines for the transmission on that silver one, these were way smaller. So anyway, we looked at it before and we kind of compared it and we thought it looked fine, but you know, what are you gonna do? So with our radiator supports back on, what I like to do now is go ahead and throw the before we put the grill back on, is I like to go ahead and throw the gauges back on it and start putting the vacuum down, for two reasons. Number one, since we've had this system open, you want to vacuum it down for at least 10 minutes and then let it sit for an additional 10 minutes to make sure that you don't have any leaks. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone by hooking it up now, sucking it down, and also if we see that the vacuum gauge only shows 15 inches of vacuum, we're not so far into it that we have to redo the whole thing. Everything's still kind of out here. If we have a leak somewhere that's at least on the side of things that we did, then we'll be able to get to it now. So we're going to go back to our fittings and hook up our gauges and get a vacuum going on it. Alright guys, while that's going back in, I cut the vacuum pump off real quick just to film this. We got our grill back in. We put those two 10 mil speed nuts back on. These two 10s are easy enough to get to. The 7 millimeters that were down there, they're easy enough to get to. If you don't have a magnetic socket, a good pro tip would be to take the bolt, and you can either put it like a piece of paper, or in this case I just have a little piece of plastic, but that way when it's upside down the bolt doesn't fall out and you can get those bolts started. So, pro tip of the day. Alright guys, we got everything back together. We're putting our refrigerant in right now. Generally speaking, I like to see the low side hang out there in the 30 somewhere, and the high side be right around the 150 mark. It's not very hot out right now. It's only 70 degrees outside. The outside temperature is going to play a huge part in what these numbers read. The lower the outside temperature, the lower these numbers will be, and vice versa. So we filled it the old school way, just with a can. This system calls for 1.56 pounds. That comes out to be just shy of 25 ounces. These cans are 12 ounces, so we're going to go 2 full cans and just a little bit more off the top of here. As far as weight goes, I'm not going to weigh these cans or whatever. I always just watch my gauges. Another tip to get the most life out of these cans is when you start putting refrigerant into the car, these get really cold. And then when they get cold, they don't have as much pressure. And so since the car's running, and you know, our low side's at 20, 30 pounds, if this has less than that pressure in it, you're not going to be feeding anything. So what I do to try to get the most out of these cans is, once they start getting cold, I'll take a torch and just kind of, you know, you don't want it to explode, but just kind of run a torch over it to you know, try to get the most that you can out of these cans, and that'll go far. You could also just take this down to pretty much any local repair shop and have them charge it with the proper amount, but people have been doing it this way for a long time. Did it for a reason. It still works. So let's go inside the car, see what our temperature is, and see whether or not we're cooking with gas. All right, so we're in the car. They sell little thermometers that go in here to tell you exactly what the temperature is. It's cold. It's very cold in here. As a general rule of thumb, a car's air conditioning, I think, is technically only rated to get about 35 degrees lower than ambient temperature. It varies, you know, based on the car. If you got a black car in the middle of the summertime, they take a long time to cool off, versus a white car, or a, you know, silver car, light gray car, or something like that. But yeah, this is really cold. So we're good. Right now I got it on max AC and I have it on refresh, and I think we're where we need to be right now. Hey guys, it's me here. I've been in this car now for quite a while. Suffice it to say, it's so cold I can't even talk right now. I'm so scared. I'm scared to open my eyes. I'm scared to close them. I hope my mom finds this. I love you, Mom. The car's not running now, just for filming purposes, but let the car run, get up to operating temperature with it running, and park. Go back to your dipstick there, pull it, check what the fluid level is. We had to add just a touch of it. We didn't notice anything, you know, dripping out of it when we took those lines off, but better safe than sorry. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up. We found our leak, we addressed our leak, we put the vacuum on it. After we replaced everything, we got much better vacuum readings afterwards. We let it sit for 10 minutes. Vacuum didn't change, which chances are, if it holds vacuum, it's going to hold pressure. We put new refrigerant back in it, checked to make sure that the clutch was cycling properly, make sure our pressures were fine, and this one's done. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. I appreciate any feedback that you guys have, so if you would, just comment on the video, like, share, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the content we're trying to put out here, and we'll see you on the next one.